Now then, in this video, I am going to discuss not only just gauge, specific gauge. I'm going to discuss the Knifty Knitter hat loom gauge, which I have discovered that Cindy Wood Crafts has started making as one of their regular products. A hat that is exactly the same, the 48 peg with the 5/8 inch peg spacing. Exactly like this. Of course, her looms have a wooden base with vinyl pegs. They're very nice. So if you're looking for one of these looms, she's the place to go if you're wanting just a 48 peg loom. But something that I discovered that not only can you use, of course, you know, my favorite now is the all-in-one loom, and not only is it great for using the worsted weight, the medium yarns, even the DK, the sport weights, you can even go down in size and still get a very nice fabric using this loom. But you can also use bulky and super bulky weight yarns on it, which is incredible, which makes it even more versatile than before. And how you do that is you would use 2 pegs together as 1 peg. Now then, people who think that if you were to do that, because this loom has a 3/8 inch peg spacing, so your natural assumption would go to, well, it's 2 pegs together, so that would make it a 3/4 inch gauge when worked as one, but it doesn't, because your gauge is actually, your stitch size is actually determined by how far your yarn actually travels. So your yarn would not travel as much just going around 2 pegs as it would if there were, like on the Martha Stewart loom with the larger pegs, in every other hole, or even if just the small pegs in every other hole will give you, it's just longer. So you're not actually skipping the pegs. So it's not like your 3/4 inch would be as if you were doing every other peg. But if you do 2 pegs together, you will get the exact same gauge as your 5/8. Sorry if I get that too close and it's not getting in focus. As your 5/8 inch, which is my favorite to use with super bulky yarn. So I'm going to demonstrate that now, because I know there's still some doubters out there and also wondering, well, how exactly would you do it? So I'm going to show you how to use 2 pegs together on your all-in-one, and then I'm going to show you, and I'm going to make a swatch on both of them, obviously, and then I'm going to show you, I'm going to compare them side by side so that you can see that. So I'm going to be using my absolute favorite super bulky yarn, which is Hometown USA. It is a 6, somewhere on here it says a 6 weight. It's nice and bulky. It is 100% acrylic, which is very nice when you're making things for people that are sensitive to wools and wool blend yarns. Okay, so here we go. Let's make our slip knot. Now then, I am just going to stick that slip knot on a peg and not worry about it, because I am not going to be using it. Now then, I am actually going to do a chain cast on, and the reason being is because I want to. Now then, you want to make sure in any kind of chain cast, or any kind of, if you're using a crochet cast on or a chain cast on, is you want to be able to use a crochet hook that can hook the yarn and also go between the pegs. Now this one will not really, but you can make it work. I mean, it's close. So what I'm going to do is, of course, if you don't know how to do a chain cast on, you can watch another video or somebody else's video So I'm going to start off with my first, this is going to be my first peg, because I'm using 2 together. So, you just bring it around 2, you're going to yarn over, pull that through, and then pull your loop over to the next 2. And that's all you do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cast on however many pegs I want to cast on, because I'm doing double pegs, so you can see. So I'll meet back up with you. Okay, so I'm going to cast on 10 pegs. Here I've got down, or 10 double pegs, and I've got down to my last one. So see, I still got my loop. So I'm going to take my loop off my hook. I'm going to take my working yarn behind the peg, and then place that last loop on my double peg. And that's how I'm going to refer to them, as my double pegs. Now that you can do, so you can see from the front here, and I probably should have used a different color yarn so you can see it better on the pegs, but I was afraid, the only other line brand that I have is darker colors, and I was afraid that once the stitches were done, you wouldn't be able to see it as well. There you go. Anyway, so I've got 10 loops, 10 stitches started on 20 pegs using the double peg. Okay, now then you can use any cast on. You can do an E-wrap cast on. It's just whatever you want to do. I was just demonstrating on how to do it with a chain cast on. Now then, so here we are over here, and what we're going to do, got my Loom tool, try to get it in good focus here. What you do is I'm going to show you using a U-wrap. You can use, like I said, any knit stitch. You can use a E-wrap if you so choose. It doesn't matter. You're going to end up, if you do it the exact same way, whatever knit stitch that you use on this, you're going to end up the same if you're doing it on here. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to bring my, for a U-wrap, around. And then, now this one, it is a little bit, you do have to get used to it. And the easiest way that I have found is wherever you've got your working yarn, the side that you've got your working yarn on, that you're holding it with your finger, you pull it around and then loop it. And then you bring it back to the front, around 2 pegs. Bring it on that side, and then loop it. And I loosen my stitches. So if you see me doing that, around and loosen, back to the front and around, bring it over, and it does take some finagling. Like I said, it's just a little bit different than if you're working it peg by peg. But you get used to it rather fast. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, whenever you first started doing loom knitting, and you go, oh my goodness, it takes me so long, like especially like with purling, you know, like, oh, it just slows me down so much, but then the more you do it, the faster you get. So, just bring it over, and you do that all the way across. And like I said, you might find an easier way to, to knit that off. But I find it easier to go on the side of the direction that you're going. So whenever I'm coming back across, and then I'm going to take it from this side, since this is the direction I'm going, and loop it over. And then again. And that's all there is to it. Like I said, you may find it easier to do it from the other side. Sorry, I was looking at my work instead of at the camera.